What's up, everybody? Good morning. It's Friday. It is the Mortgage Coach Mastermind. Every Friday, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're here to have a mastermind with amazing leaders, speakers, top producers, authors that are killing it in the market. Today, as my co-host, we have Mr. Dan Keller. What's up, Dan?
Good morning, Mortgage Coach community and Mr. Dave Savage. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, brother, man. So, hey, first of all, I want to thank you for all the value you've been pumping into Mortgage Coach for 2 weeks now. I think you were on last Friday's call where it was creating wow with Dan Keller. And then you were on Tuesday's call with top producing real estate agent, Tina Bellevue. And here you are today, bro. So thank you.
Giving back, man, giving back. This is 10 years I've been a part of this community, and so much of your community is woven in and embedded into my business. And it was free from you and your guests, and it's the least I can do. And it's an honor to be able to give back at some point at this point. Thank you.
Well, the community loves you, dude. You know, I don't know if you've noticed it, but when I post a promotion that Dan Keller is going to be on something, it gets like the most likes, it gets the most comments. So you have become, just quite the rock star in this community, dude. So super grateful. Little virtual knuckles.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
All right, man. And we have a good friend of ours, a coach, an author. Craig has been a friend of mine for over a decade, not quite 2 decades, but probably 15 years. We've been business partners.
Hey, but like Keller, I've followed Mortgage Coach for 2 decades.
You're right. You're right.
So I've known you. I mean, yeah, I don't know exactly when you launched, but I probably got into Mortgage Coach when I ran my branch early 2000s, so I've followed this thing and your journey, and I've been on all those calls and watched all your amazing guests. And Dave, to share a story with your audience, to be on a call, I'm getting goosebumps before I even say it, with you yesterday, and to hear that millions of homeowners last month opened up TCAs and rent versus own, man, your entrepreneurial journey is something in itself that's inspiring. So love being on this call with you, man. And we've been friends for a decade, but like Dan, I've been a student of what you've done forever. So it's fun to be on these things.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. You've become a super close personal friend. We met as business friends. You were like the Dan Keller and the Jeremy Forcier rock star. And I don't know if you know this, Dan, but like Craig was OG Mortgage Coach rock star, where he'd come into when I started doing interviews on GoToMeeting back in the day. And Craig,
I'm the one who's a hater on Edge.
Yeah,
I want to know who's on this call that knows the old school TCAs. Yeah, when you went Edge, I'm like, what's he doing, man? Why is he? People don't like change.
Yeah,
but way better platform, way more technologically friendly, and better for the consumer for sure. So that's why millions of people are opening up, and it's awesome.
So cool. So I do want to qualify one thing, because Craig said millions last month. We had over 179,000 TCAs created last month in July. They were viewed about 280,000 times. And I think what I told you, Craig, is that's trending about 1.5 million TCAs created annually. And I do believe by the end of this year, we'll be trending over 2 million TCAs created in Mortgage Coach. So it's not, we didn't have 2 million in 1 month.
Thanks for the correction. So I exaggerated the number, but I didn't say the fact that the people that are opening that are buying their biggest investment. They're also buying a home where they're going to build their memories, raise their families, build communities, and go look at a settlement statement. You have appraisers, mortgage guys, loan officers, processors, realtors, Home Depot, everybody that gets a commission. The impact that makes on people's lives is the ripple effect is insane. So congratulations on that, man. It's just awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of it. And here's the deal, guys. It would not happen without the two of you and other influencers and leaders. And it wouldn't happen with the topic that we're going to have, personal branding, using media, creating content. None of that would be happening. If we were just a technology company that sold SaaS software and we didn't lead, we didn't educate, we would probably be in business, but we would not be what we are today. And we would not be at the mountain we're at, where we're creating social change, how people get into debt. So guys, let's get into it. While I put the topic, elevate personal brand, that's an outcome. Your brand becomes bigger, but at the end of the day, it's about growth. It's about leadership. It's about how, you create a personal brand, but it's about the results. So So before we start peppering Craig with questions, Dan, you declared your goal. You want to become the most well-known, most well-respected loan officer in Seattle. What does personal branding mean to you as a mortgage professional? And then let's just start asking Craig questions and pulling out best practices.
So I believe that your brand is what your clients, what the community, and what people say you are. Okay, you can say all you want that I am, Dan Keller Mortgage, and we provide an exceptional mortgage experience, or I am whatever. Name any company with their slogan. At the end of the day, your brand is what people say you are. People that have used you, people that have known you, people that see you. And so I'm going to give you an incredible real life example right now of my brand. I don't have a catchphrase. I don't have a slogan. My website is mymortgageguy.dan.com. I started that in 2009 for my blog, because when people would refer me, they'd say, hey, I want you to call My Mortgage Guy Dan. And so it just was catchy. And I was just like, I'm going to go with this. I can't think of any other name. But part of my DNA, the reason why I'm one of the co-hosts of the American Dream TV show up here in Seattle, the reason why I have a blog, the reason why I do video is I have educator's DNA inside of me. I teach. When I do videos, it's to educate. When I sit down with a homeowner and I share with them a total cost analysis, a rent versus own, it's to educate them on their options. Prior to mortgage, my dream was to be a professor at a university. I went to college. I've got a master's degree. I actually applied to get my PhD so I could be a professor. And life happened. I got an awesome opportunity to be a strength and conditioning coach with the Colorado Rockies, and I took that. But my dream was to always be a head baseball coach at the University of Washington and a professor at the University of Washington. Fast forward 12 years. No longer a big picture goal of mine. I'm having great success in the mortgage industry. I get an opportunity last year to go speak at the University of Washington in their real estate school, in their business department. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the dean. Say, we'd like to hire you as an affiliate professor. I didn't apply for the job. My goal right now in life is not to be a professor. My brand, because I educate, because they saw the videos, they saw the American Dream episodes, they saw how I spoke. I didn't come in and speak on a topic to a classroom of 50 students and lecture them. I told a story. I told my story, that you have a whole life ahead of you. And with a real estate degree from the University of Washington, you can do all these things. Possibilities are limitless, but I educated them on the home buying experience, how to do it right. Because of that, I'm now a professor. This is just, Craig just talked about goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm now a professor at the University of Washington.
That's awesome, man.
That is so awesome, bro. So guys, Craig Sewing is a coach and an entrepreneur that leads the American Dream, and not just 100 mortgage and real estate professional, but hundreds of mortgage and real estate professionals come to Craig for coaching on how to build a brand, how to create content, how to leverage media so you can define your story, so that instead of it be like what people see you as, you get to tell that story. And so Craig, what are, Dan is one of your, 50 lender partners, and you've got more than 400 real estate partners. What would you add to that from a personal branding standpoint? And then let's also tell some stories. Like Dan's going to tell his story and ask questions. You've got a lot of other realtors that are just doing crazy things. How would you define branding, and what would you add to that?
Well, I think at the beginning of the calls, we're going round and round with small talk. There's actually something that you said that's pretty profound, where you said if Mortgage Coach was just a tech company, who knows how far we would have gone. And we were talking about how we were on your call and you've created a community. Mortgage Coach is technology, but I think of it as a community where the best loan officers go. We look at the American Dream, which is launched in 52 cities. I can tell you with absolute clarity, the best markets perform the best when it's been one of your referrals. Guys like Dan and Kelly Zitlow and plenty of others that are different than just loan officers who can quote great rates or anything like that. So as you made that statement about you, and we're talking to a community of loan officers, consumers have access to information now more than they've ever had. They don't need more information. And so the thing that's going to make you stand out is that brand. And when I hear brand, I think of it to be something, what do people say about you when you're not around? Dave, you just referenced it as your story. I love a line I got from a guy who happens to be on the call today. About a year ago, he was on one of your calls, and Dan Keller said, I don't care if every realtor in Seattle does business with me, but every realtor in Seattle will know who I am. Like, that is such a strong statement. And okay, well, what do they know? They probably know Dan. Everybody's got their own personality as a competitive guy, a hard worker, a knowledgeable guy. Well, why do they know that? It's not because, well, they closed one deal with him. It's because they closed one deal with him, and then he shows up on Facebook. He does a post. They're probably on that blog or in that newsletter. He drips that information on them. So content is king. Distribution is queen and wears the pants. You've got to create content, but you have to create consistent content. And I believe now more than ever, you need to create credible content, because everybody's got an iPhone and Facebook. Those are both free mediums here. You better be creating something a little more professional, a little more wow, and really more authentic, something that makes you seem different, because there's other people on the call who aren't Dan, who aren't maybe hard charge competitor male, might be super analytical female or super funny. I think like Don Getling, people are going to do business with you now more than ever because they can relate to you. And now's the greatest opportunity in the history of mankind to connect with others out there because of the mediums that exist. And now in a quarantine type world, you have people online more now than ever. We're all like this. Even if there wasn't COVID, this is what we're doing on our elevators. You have the ability to create really compelling content that shows up in front of people. And that to me is how you develop equity in your brand. You had another question there, Dave. I want to make sure I answer it. So it was, as I've done this across the country, what does brand really mean to me? Is there any way I can extend on that?
Well, I think you answered that. I want to say something and then ask a question, and I think it will lead to where I wanted you to go with my part two. So I have said this a lot lately for about a month, but I'm going to keep saying it. I think everybody knows the difference between good and bad at anything, whether it's scripts, whether it's media. Everybody knows there's good and bad. But what makes the great, what makes Dan Keller great, is he knows the difference between great and wow. And so I put that in the billing of this call. We're going to talk about what's bad, what's good, what's great, and then what is wow? Like, what is the difference between the best and the rest? So I'm going to say one thing that's bad and one thing that's good. Not turning on the camera is bad. I don't care whether you're doing a team, a Facebook, it's your internal company media. If you don't turn on the camera, that's bad. If you are not leveraging social media and content, that's bad. It's not good. You've got it. That's there's good and bad in today's virtual world. And it's not going to change. I don't know when we will find a cure for COVID, but I don't care. In 2021 and 2022, the world will be more virtual, and not turning on the camera is bad. So why don't we just go to what's the difference between great and wow? And why don't you tell what some other wow realtors and wow loan officers are doing when it comes to building brand and using media?
Yeah. So I'm not running loans, right? So I'll speak to what my experiences are out there in the marketplace. And it's, Dan can speak to what he does to wow his clients with the content he's putting out there, or in his Facebook, the testimonial marketing. What I can tell you, and a lot of what we do is tied to realtors who a lot on this call want to have relationships with. I think those who are doing it the best are willing to spend the money. There's videographers, there's editing, things like that. It's one thing. Look, I think you're right. You have to do this stuff consistently. You have to, when you do a TCA, have that little video at the bottom right that explains that spreadsheet. And you should do the little Instagram stories and whatnot. You should also do stuff, to me, in my opinion, that is super professional. You should have, if people Google you and they go to your website, is it cookie cutter? Did you type it, or do you put authentic content in there? Do you have a well-polished video? Do you have a sizzle reel? I think that if you don't make an investment into what people are finding when they Google you, your about me, your your motto or your motivational statement or your whatever, right? I think people need to know what you stand for, and you should put some money into that. You should make sure your website shines. You should make sure that you do have an well-polished piece of content. So I think towards realtors, I always say you can't gain market share without being couture. There's no denying that's done in the way of video, digital, and social. The problem is everybody can do that. So you should have some stuff that you create that you put money into that has a little bit of sizzle, a little bit of wow, that gets people wanting to share it. And then I think where I see people succeed the most is they don't just make it about them. They're leveraging it. They're getting out into the marketplace and they're doing this for others. They're doing stories about their community. They're highlighting the farmers markets, the school districts, the golf courses, what makes our community great. And for the mortgage professional right now, the days of needing to sit there and wait for a realtor referral are numbered. If I'm you, I'm out there getting the consumer first. It's time for lenders to be leaders. You should create the content. You should get out there to that consumer and you should be referring to the realtor. And the way you do that is you create consistent content. And I think you create very credible content, and the wow comes in spending money on it. I mean, straight up, that would be my answer. The agents that have the best brands, go to Seth O'Byrne's website, sethsold.com. It says, as seen on, there's videos streaming all over it. This guy looks like a celebrity. That to me makes you stand out against everybody who's doing this stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. So 2 takeaways I want you to get, and then Dan, I'm going to hand it to you for takeaways and comments, are 1, the difference between great and wow is consistency. So you can't be a wow if you don't do something consistently. I don't care what that is. You mentioned TCAs. If you don't do it consistently, you're not going to be a wow. Like Jeremy Forcier, who's done 5,000 total cost analysis, he's going to be a wow. So I don't care if it's a script. I don't care if it's a sales process. And especially if it's media, if you don't do it consistently, you can't be a wow. And then you have to invest. I mean, let's face it, in the world of today, there's good and there's great. Like, I think you can do good, and I think you can even do great content with an iPhone, but you can't do a wow with just an iPhone. There's editing, there's distribution, and that's the thing, guys. You got to do it all. You got to create great content, and you need to distribute great content consistently in an elevated way to be a wow. Dan, what are your thoughts? Any takeaways? Anything you want to, as we define what wow is? Anything you want to add to that topic?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll add is my story, where I was at. I was an early adopter to video, okay? Using my laptop, using a little camera. Then it was the iPhone developed, using the iPhone, getting really good at iMovie and dropping little graphics and screen shares in. And I was becoming my own video editor. And at the end of the day, like I'm a mortgage guy, man. I need to be sitting in front of people. I use that as marketing. And so it just got to a point where, like what you just said, I was doing it consistently. I was creating wow because I was standing out, but it got to a point where I was watching Kelly Zitlow and how her YouTube videos had a bumper on it or had a thumbnail on it. And then all of a sudden she's like walking down the streets in sunny Arizona. And I'm like, what in the heck is she doing? And then Dave calls me one day and says, I want to introduce you to a guy named Craig Sewing. He's got this thing called American Dream TV, and a couple of rock star lenders are doing it. Just hear him out. If it's a fit, great. You do a lot of video. I think it might be a good fit. And I saw what it could do to my video marketing game. It pushed me to then go build out a video studio. So you talked about spending a little money, building out a video studio in my office with a green screen and being a part of the American Dream TV, and then blessing the realtors that I work with and the loan officers that I recruit and that come and work for me with high-end video education, training, materials. And then one next level, hiring a guy like Rene Rodriguez to learn how to tell a story. I mean, when I started off today, I started with a story about branding. You asked me what my brand was. I could have said I'm an educator. Instead, I gave you a 2-minute story of what an educator means to you, what it means to me, and you'll remember that. So I think that's the wow part of it, is learning. I mean, the last mastermind you held here in Seattle with Rene, I mean, you list some of the people that were in that room. So many people would have paid an endless check to be in that room with that group of loan officers and Renee and you. And so it's just, that's the wow. And there's going to be a next level. That's why I lean on guys like you and Craig. Okay, what's the next level of wow? How do I continue this run?
I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned Renee Rodriguez and Amplify, because the other thing is the pursuit of wow is never ending. There's always, I'm going to improve how I lead and influence. And that does have to do with technology, camera, microphone, but it's also you from within. And you guys, you have to get out there and you have to do it. If you want to lead, again, if you want to be the most well-known, most well-respected loan officer or lender, and it's not just a city, it's a digital niche. You know, that's the thing in today's world now. We can say, hey, you know, like Josh Metal, I want to own Doctor's Mortgage nationally. And I can make it so that, you know, through Google and SEO, I define that. Jason Mitchell, one of America's top real estate agents, has created a new niche around B2B realtor. You know, he is a Quicken's agent. You know, some of the biggest consumer direct lenders in the country, they're referring their leads because they're getting to the buyer first, and they're referring to Jason Mitchell, and he wants to own that niche. So he's hired Craig and his team. So guys, at the end of the day, let's move into another topic, because I want to give Craig the last words on this. You know, what's wow, what's great, what's good. I think we can all align not turning on the camera and playing the game is bad. It's a missed opportunity. But I want and guys, remember, this is a mastermind. So if you have questions, for whatever reason, we can't get this pushed into Facebook. So apologies. We just have our Zoom community. And if you're watching the recording on YouTube and you have a question, if we can't answer it live, we'll answer it. So put your questions down below. But at the end of the day, consistency, investing, and both in platforms like Craig's and Renee Rodriguez to improve your leadership skills, that's how you become wow. So Craig, how do you want to wrap up this before we get into a few more of the topics at hand?
Yeah, so we've gone round and round. I think if you boiled it down, we've said you got to be willing to make an investment, right? So Dan suggested the idea of having a studio in his office. The investment can also simply be something that doesn't cost you any money. Invest in being a student, invest in learning, invest in watching others. And so the wow is going to come when you do spend a little money to get a little bit higher end production, but also, as you put it, Dave, the consistency. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. The first 1003 you did, you had no idea what that scrambled document was. Now you can do it in your sleep. The first time you do a video, you're probably not going to have the greatest of video, but you do it consistently, you're going to get better and better, and you're going to be able to do it in your sleep. You'll get better, and that's where the wow will come out. So there's the making an investment into yourself, and then there's also making the time investment of being a student and doing things consistently. I think that's how you achieve that wow status.
All right, so let's do the rest of the call. We're 24 minutes into this. We've got 35 minutes. We're going to close with distribution. You know, what are the best channels? How do we get, we've got this great content. How do we distribute it? So guys, if you're on this call, we're going to get to that. But let's just focus on how to create great content. At some point in this conversation, I'm going to reference the playbook that Craig and I wrote. Guys, it's free. It's on LinkedIn. I think there's a link in comments. There'll be a link in show notes. Craig and I had a conversation around how to do great interviews. We created a playbook on that, so we'll reference that. But Craig, why don't you go first? What are some of the how to create great content? Go.
Yeah, so interestingly, as Dan has his dog there, you know, when I post pictures of my dog or baby, I get more engagement than when I put something smart out there. So I think being radically authentic is critically important. I think sometimes people overthink things. They try and get scripted. They try and be perfect. I think it's better to be unscripted and imperfect, but rather do it all the time. Do it very consistently. People are going to either like you or not, but that's going to help you grow an audience. So I always say, get out of your head, get into your heart, make it about them, not you. And ultimately, if someone doesn't like you, then screw them. That would have never been your client anyway. So being radically authentic, I think as you get out there and you create content, to not create stagnant content. Dan mentioned Kelly Zitlow was out there in Phoenix. You know what? That's a lot cooler than being sitting in a mortgage office with a bunch of books behind you. Keep doing stuff like this. It's stagnant. It's stale. You got to get out. You got to move around rather than show maybe a TCA and what you could buy a house for or whatever it may be. Why not do that content out in the marketplace where you're showing, here's an area that I really love in Phoenix, Arizona, and that TCA that I put up where you can buy a house for less than you're paying in rent. Look at some of the beautiful homes. I think getting out in the marketplace, showing people the real estate, the lifestyle is we all say it now. I think it originally came from Gary Vee. Be the digital mayor of your marketplace. Look, people need financial advice, but if you want to create connectivity, the content you create really doesn't have to be about mortgage. It should be much more about I almost feel like as a mortgage professional, you should take the role of what the realtor has been for so many years as the marketer and the person who's showing you off the neighborhoods. Like, why wouldn't that be you? You don't have to just be the finance guy. So I think the content you should create should be getting out into the marketplace, showing the different areas, why you love them, the school districts, where first-time home buyers can afford, veterans. Okay, no money down for a veteran loan. We know that already. And if a vet wanted to know, they could Google it without you. Show us where veterans are buying home. Show us how that is a $500,000 house where I guess you probably need a little money down if you're a veteran. I don't know all the underwriting guidelines anymore, but you get the point. Show us that stuff. And I think you'll have a lot more connectivity. As Dan said, he could have said he is just a professor and said he told you a story. You could tell someone an interest rate and a payment, or you could show them what that interest rate and that payment means. Like, give them a story of the lifestyle that they can accomplish through developing a cost-effective mortgage strategy. And look, you get really good at this stuff. Realtors are having this stuff shoved down their throats. Every Tom Ferry out there is telling you need to do video, digital, and social. Every one of their brokerages, every webinar. If you actually become the solution for it, if you're the person who's inviting them on your podcast, if you're taking the pictures of them on the other side of the microphone doing it, and you're giving them collateral, now not only are you doing this for yourself, but you're creating a solution that they desperately need as well. So that, hopefully that answers your question, Dave, but I would say share that with others who are also in need of it. And that's gonna help you attract referrals in the process.
I love a few things that you said, and then Dan, I'm gonna hand it to you for takeaways and anything you want to add to it. But you said a few things. First of all, radically authentic. I just looked at our playbook. We don't have the word radically authentic. We're gonna put that in the playbook. I hope you write that down. I know it's a compass for Craig, and whether you love him or you hate him, he's always gonna be radically authentic. So write that down. He also said something, he didn't say it like this, but he mentioned Google. You gotta go beyond Google. Like, people can Google information. You got to go beyond Google. And then remember, our community, for the most part, are local professionals. Whether you're a local realtor or you're a local mortgage professional, you got to get local. So there's national news is abundant. There's a lot of mainstream media players that do it. When you look at other loan officers and realtors, in some cases, they're just taking national content and framing it and pushing it. You got to go local. And here's the thing that I think will really make you guys pop. You got to go personal. So if you can take something that's happened nationally, localize it. And when I say local, that may be city, that may be your Google niche, but you got to localize it, and then you got to personalize it. So when you do your call to actions, I see so much content that's good, but it's not driving people into a personalized action. That's one of the things that the total cost does a great job of. And I'm not here to say all your posts, all your videos need to have a total cost analysis. No, sometimes you're being entertaining. Sometimes you're being personal. Sometimes you're talking about things that have nothing to do with the TCA. But a couple times a month, you should be personalizing things with, oh, you want to see if moving up is right for you, refi versus move up analysis? Call me and I'll personalize this for you. You tell a local story and then you say, call me and I'll personalize it. So Dan, what are some of your thoughts, any takeaways, anything that has to do with creating great content?
Yeah, I'm not going to give it away because I'm posting this today, but I mean, obviously we just had industry breaking news yesterday, right? With FHFA coming in overnight and just raising the cost of refinances. I'm connected to hundreds of loan officers and real estate agents on social media. And I happened to jump on a couple of times yesterday, and it's all the same thing. It's negative. It's, hey, if you missed out on an opportunity, refinancing just got more expensive. It was like, hey, this is refinancing just got more expensive. It was the same story by 100 to 200 lenders and real estate agents. The story or the video that I made had a much different twist to it. It was more educated. I use Mortgage Coach in it. I show what just happened. I talk about the why, the who it impacts. Make no mistake, this does not impact home buyers. So I want every home buyer out there that follows me to be like, oh my God, did my interest rate just go up? And then to show them what it costs, what it means over time, using Mortgage Coach as a side-by-side comparison. This happened overnight. Now, if rates continue to drop, the third option, this is a moot point. Okay, so this happened. Yeah, it's negative. Yeah, it's bad, but this is what it means. So I think one of the things, I just give that as an example because it's recent and it's on all of our radars right now. But when something happens in the industry, you be the media. Like I've heard Craig say this numerous times. You're the local media. When something happens, don't wait for Fox or CNN or whoever to talk about it, or your local news channel. You talk about it, and then you start running some ads to it. You start boosting it. So that I think going into local businesses is something that I've seen a handful of American Dream cast members do, and they go in and they connect at a yoga studio. Okay. Next thing you know, they're selling homes and listing homes for people that attend that yoga studio. Myself, I don't know if you guys know this, but general managers for auto dealerships make a couple $100,000 a year. They're buying $1 million homes up here in Seattle. I didn't know that. There's a lot of money in the auto industry, I guess. I have a client. I went in and delivered him, just pre-approved client, buying a $1.2 million house. Makes $275,000 a year. He runs 4 different auto dealerships here. I went in and just delivered donuts for he and his sales crew the other day. 2 refinances from that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to interview him on, hey, how to get a great.
Craig, did you lose the
Get the box? Use this also to connect.
So Dan, your connection got a little spotty there, but I think everybody heard where that was going. I want to insert something. Craig, let me know when Dan frame freezes up so we can bring him back in.
Cool.
Unfreezes, I guess I should say. But he said something that's at the foundation of American Dream. He talked about, hey, there's a lot of media out there, and it's negative. It's negative. It's negative. I can only speak for myself. Be positive. Take the positive spin on everything. Now, again, if your brand is cynical and negative, and that's not radically authentic for you, maybe you can't do that. But I would push you to whatever the most positive, radically authentic self you are, you create that content. And you're always looking for the silver lining because the world is full of negativity. It's full of fear. People take everything. And I'm not here to minimize the 50 basis point bump in tax on refis because it's negative. It will end up costing consumers money. It is incongruent with what the Fed is trying to do and bringing fiscal stimulus to America. I think it's bad, but I can marginalize it and minimize it and bring the positive side to that. And I love what you did, Dan. You're like, hey, if you're buying a home, it's got no impact on you. And hey, if you're refinancing a home and you can save money and pay off your home faster, you can never lose money taking a profit. So let's move on. So I love that, Dan. I don't know if you heard what I said, but what I pulled out of your rift was you're always looking to put the positive side on things, and you're always looking to not just recycle what's happening nationally, but you're looking to localize, personalize, and positivize. I don't know. We'll make up a word, Craig. Be ready
I like
to make
the word. Positivize.
Positivize. So Dan, go ahead and finish your rift, and then we're bringing it back to Craig.
Yeah, did you guys lose me?
We heard everything. Pretty much said, hey, I got 2 loans, and then you were, telling the story and you froze up on us.
Got it. So really, at the end of the day, just like Craig saying, go out into your community and just be creative. If you have past clients that have a unique story, talk about it. Share it and get testimonials. One of the things I'm doing right now, and I can't wait to share with the community, is a testimonial reel that I'm having our videographer for the American Dream do. Every time he's going out on a shoot, he's saying, hey, can I get a 30-second testimonial of what it's like to work with Dan Keller and his team. And he's splicing it together, and I'm going to throw it right on the main page of my website. So many guys, there's so many different ways to leverage media. You just got to be creative and go out and do it.
So Dan, before we bring it back to Craig, will you promise you're going to post something on social? What you do, because there's a lot of people that are watching this, will you forward that into the Mortgage Coach group?
Yep.
Kind of frame it like, hey, this is what everybody's doing. This is what I did. Give me comments. Will you push that into the Facebook group?
Absolutely. Yeah. Give me a couple hours.
Yeah. Just today, so, or tomorrow. I know you got a big day with your son's party today. So just sometime forward it. Okay, guys, we got 24 minutes left. I want to get to distribution, but Craig, anything you want to add to that before we wrap it up on
how? I couldn't help but reach right under my desk here. Dan Keller, you recognize this? So Dan Keller, he puts together an event, talk about being a student, flies me into Seattle, and he has a speaker named Robert Stover who talks about how to create compelling content and copy. So we're talking about video, but what about the copy of that video? And it's sitting right here next to my desk. Thanks, Dan Keller, for the invite for that. I learned a ton from it. And one of the things the guy talks about is news hacking. Dave, you talk about positivizing, which is now a permanent word that we will always use. People have a thirst for it. That's blue ocean. If the rest of the media is negative and you're a fresh voice of an industry that's positive, people are really looking for that stuff. So go against the grain of the negative stuff. But I love the idea of news hacking. Dan just gave an example of something that happened in a mortgage. I want to tell you, it doesn't have to be a mortgage. People are scared of COVID. People are dying from COVID. People are getting sick. People want to know how this impacts real estate values. There is so much that is happening right now specific to this industry that is absolutely fascinating from COVID. I keep hearing all the time from Phoenix, all these Californians that are leaving California, people that are getting out of their homes because this is forcing them to want to be a move-up buyer, because now the thing that they didn't like about their home, they're sick of it, or they want that bigger yard, or they want that pool. They want to get into that area, or hate to say it about my own state, they want the hell out of California and the ridiculous taxes that we pay here. I'm hearing this from Jay Talisano, big mortgage coach guy up in Connecticut. He says he's getting a ton of business from New York City. Ralph DiBignara with Cardinal Financial, getting a ton of business in Jersey. What city are you in? How can you news hack what everybody's talking about, which is COVID, into a way that actually gives value to somebody? And so whether it's COVID or Brad Pitt went through a divorce and you want to talk to a realtor about what it means to go through a divorce sale with luxury real estate, news hack is one of the greatest ways to get people's attention. They're already paying attention to it. Get in front of it and make it relevant to your industry. Well, how does this impact our industry? Dan gave a great example of specific to mortgage, but it doesn't have to be mortgage. It could be something that people are talking about, and then use that to spin it into your industry. So that positions you as a consumer advocate, not just a mortgage professional.
I love that. So guys, we're going to wrap a bow into how to create great content. I am showing the playbook that Craig and I did, which it will be edited. So this one thing about this, we posted it on Monday. It's been edited 3 times since then, and it's going to get edited today. Like, we don't have radical authenticity in it. We don't have, I don't know if I'm going to use the word positification or whatever, but we're going to speak to the fact to be positive. So this will be a living, breathing playbook for the mortgage coach community. If you want to be a rock star, if you want to use social media and content to be a rock star in whatever you want to define your marketplace, this will be a playbook on how to do interviews. So interviews are the alpha content. Like, news hacking, great. There's a lot of great things to do, but I believe at the core of everything is an interview. They get great views. I make a case for that. Craig and I came up with, what do we think the principles and beliefs are that would drive someone who's a great interviewer? So here's our checklist, and it will evolve. We came up with strategies to do great interviews. We came up with checklists, things for you to consider before you do an interview. Last Tuesday, I interviewed a rock star mortgage coach loan officer, Amber Kovark, out of Chandler, Arizona, and she had a great move-up strategy that would be great content, great story. We talked about how to tell those stories. So guys, reference this. We gave a checklist on how to prepare for an interview. Craig and I did an interview of how to do interviews, and we gave our checklist from that. So it's right here. Check it out. And then we get into strategy number 2, how to get great distribution. So we've got a checklist of, let's see here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 things. Let's talk about that, guys. Let's talk about, okay, we got great content. How do we get great distribution of it? Craig,
So I'll speak to the way that we coach our realtors with the American Dream, which is still relevant. We do the same thing with our mortgage professionals. But when they come on our show, the whole idea is that they're creating credible content because everybody can do a video. An example is we tell our realtors, what's more impressive when you sit down on a listing appointment and say, hey, Mr. Seller, I want to do a video of this property. I always say that bubblegum's lost its taste. They're going to hear that 3 times. When you say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm a part of a national TV show centered around real estate with the goal to win an Emmy, the same show that features Ryan Serhant from the $1 Million Listing, Seth LeBurn from HGTV, and I've been chosen in Houston as the expert in this marketplace. And coming up on the next episode, I'd love to feature this property in this area where I sell a lot of real estate. There's something a lot more credible about that. Now, you don't have to be on our show for that, but when I do think there's an element of when you're creating content, as we said, making an investment, making it look better, pop more. That's why I think you have to make an investment into things that make your content more than just an iPhone video. Then the question becomes, well, what do you do with it? So you're creating great content, but you want people to see it. And part of it is, driving views. The other part of it is leverage. So if people are Googling you, what are they finding? You are being Googled. If you have a cookie cutter website that you didn't even write, scrap it. I mean, honestly, get rid of that. Have something on your site that is a great video. So look, this isn't driving viewership necessarily, but this is where you're distributing it, where you're putting it. So it should live on your website. It should live on LinkedIn. That video should go on to YouTube, to Vimeo. You should share it. Now here's a big one, Dave. Gary Vee calls it pillar content. So if you create a piece of content like a video, I'm going to be fully transparent here. That playbook that we created, Dave, it was stripped from an interview we did, and we took the content and turned it into a blog. Let's be real. Now we've gone back and edited it and refined it, but the reality is that came from a video. The one awesome video that you do, or that awesome interview you do with a realtor, could be stripped to a blog. It could be stripped to a podcast. It could be turned into memes. You literally could. I did this. We went through a little thing on our side with American Dream this past week. We kind of hacked how to create memes. If you go back and watch, let's say, a 5-minute video that you've done with a realtor, you will be absolutely shocked at the number of quotes you can pull from a video and turn it into a meme. Well, you go to Design Pickle or somewhere, you create a graphic, you play a video, you can, this is going to sound crazy, from a 5-minute video, you could probably find 100 awesome quotes that could convert to memes that you might have done one video a month, let's say, but that could turn into 50 to 100 memes. It could turn into a podcast. It could turn into a blog. So I encourage you, create a pillar piece of content that you're really proud of. Do that podcast, or that just really cool market update, or that's something you're going to do with a realtor. For us, be on the American Dream, but use that to create a ripple effect of additional pieces of content that you can spray in different directions. And then the beauty of social media and Facebook is we live in an environment now where Dan's got that Pacific Ocean behind him. He goes out there with his reel and he's trying to grab trout or whatever the heck you fish out of, I don't know. But as it pertains to marketing, he could put on scuba gear with his bait and swim it directly to the fish's mouth in the marketing realm that we live in now. You have the ability to geo-target to make sure your content shows up in realtors, to build audiences, lookalike audiences. So there's a place you'll put things that they'll be stagnant. There'll be places where you can drive more viewership, but no matter what, I encourage everyone to create a pillar piece of content and let that ripple into micro content, blogs, podcasts, memes. And that'll help you get more, squeeze that turnip more to get a better ripple effect out of the stuff you're proud of.
I love that. So guys, I'm going to share a piece of pillar content. I referenced the interview that I did with Amber last week, and I recommend everybody watch the entire interview. You're going to see a LinkedIn article hit on Monday or Tuesday, and it will be a LinkedIn article that we created from this. And over the course of the month, you're going to see a lot of micro content come from this. So guys, here's the story. she's doing a lot of refis. She's talking to a lot of people. And I asked her, Amber, what's new? What's happening? She's like, well, I'm talking to a lot of people. When I ask them, how are they digging their current home? They're saying, I kind of want a bigger home, or I want a different home. After 4 months of quarantine or 5 months of quarantine, I want something different. So guys, let's break this down. They wanted to refi. They could have refinanced and saved $322. But they said, no, we've got another kid. We'd like to have their own bedroom. And that would be going from a $436,000 home to a $525,000 home. And she said, well, you can qualify for 5% down and your payment will go up by $507. And she goes, or you could buy that home with 5% down. Once you sell it, they had equity. A lot of people have equity nowadays. And you could recash your mortgage and the payment would actually go down by $164. What a cool story. So guys, this is what the family decided to do. They said, no, let's do column 3 while we're earning around 8 to 10% on our money. Let's just say if we only earn 6%, let's put that 125 in the bank. And guys, look what happened. She was able to help this family buy a new home and build more wealth with real estate. Here's netting it out. Guys, by the way, this is micro content. This slide is a story. This is a family that was able to increase their cash by 50%. Who doesn't want to do that after COVID? This is a family who can improve their net worth by 60%, $378,000. Who doesn't want to do that? And this is a family that gets their dream home. Micro content. You could take this story. By the way, you could take Amber's story and take it in your own market.
You can take a screenshot. Like,
yeah, just screenshot it.
Because she did this for a client. She probably created a video for that client. She could post that. She could take that image and make it a screenshot with some good copy on the post. That one little TCA she did for that one customer could create several pieces of content that she could put out there over the course of the next month. And that's just one time. What about the next one and the next one? So that's exactly what I was referencing.
So for the buyer and for all the families out there, both realtors and borrowers, this is the story. But guys, for the realtors, there's a whole nother story. An agent got a listing. Someone who would have refied if they would have talked to any other lender, but because Amber was a mortgage coach, she was able to tell a different story. And that agent got a listing and that agent got a move up buyer. There's another piece of micro content. So guys, and by the way, did you notice something, guys? When I'm telling a story and I'm using a slide to help tell the story, the slide's up. In the minute I'm done with the slide's down. I recently watched an amazing interview. I mean, amazing human beings, super compelling people, and they had a slide up the whole time. So I couldn't see their eyes. So it was like a 30, 40-minute thing, and it had slides the whole time. When creating content and you're using Zoom, make sure you have a slide up when it matters, and when it does, you pull it down. So guys, we got 10 minutes left. Dan, why don't you take your riff at how to create great distribution of great content?
Yeah, I'm going to start with this. It's from your article. It's Follow the Blue Ocean Strategy. I think that was one of my bigger takeaways. Okay, so Craig just hit it on the head. Find out, the main channels, the main areas that you need to be. If you're not already, I hate saying this, it's almost 2021, but if you're not already posting valuable information on Facebook and Instagram, to say the least. There's this kid down in Texas. I love him right now. I say kid. He's probably 35, 40, Brian McCauley. And he's just crushing it on TikTok. He's a mortgage guy, Dallas mortgage guy. And crushing it on TikTok and crushing it on Instagram. And I'm sitting here going, I messaged him the other day. He's in the core with me. And he commented in one of our groups going, dude, this is amazing. And I'm like, bro, your Instagram's amazing. Or he said, you're inspiring or something like that. And I said, dude, your Instagram is inspiring. And so part of that blue ocean strategy is right behind me. You can go right around the corner about 50 miles out, and you're going to be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And that's where you can fish for tuna. That's where you can fish for, that's the real fishing, right? Or you can fish right out here and you can catch king salmon and you can catch Chinook, kind of like what I do in crab. But the real fishing, the real charters, they go way out there and they catch those big tuna and they come back with 20, 30 tuna, okay? That's the blue ocean. That's where very few people are. I don't know if you can see behind me, there's hundreds of boats out there right now fishing for salmon. The blue ocean strategy is one, find out what the best of the best are doing in your marketplace. Now, I think I do a pretty good job, but I'm looking for the best. Kelly Zitlow, this Brian McCauley cat down in Texas, and I'm finding out what they're doing. I'm like, I got to copy that. I got to do that. So that's number one. Who's the leader in your market? Okay. So I'm competitive as heck. I want to find out who the leader is in my market. I want to catch them. I want to outdo them, and then find out what they're doing. Okay. So if you're just starting doing this, you're not going to catch me overnight. I'm 10 plus years of using video and doing this. But what you can do is you can meet up with me. You can call me. I'll help you. You can mirror some of the things that I'm doing. You can pick my brain. I'll introduce you to guys like Dave Savage and Craig Sewing. If Craig has an opening on the American Dream, you can connect with him. So there's certain things like that. And the last thing, for example, you say, if everyone's doing Zoom, then what's next? Go watch what Renee Rodriguez is doing with Zoom. If everyone's doing Zoom, want to up it with Zoom. Interview, hire credible people. Find a way to get on the American Dream, for example. But it's just that's how you kind of elevate just the basic model to be post on Facebook, post on Instagram, post on LinkedIn, but use the blue ocean strategy to elevate your game on those platforms.
I love that. Guys, that whole blue ocean strategy came from Craig. That was Craig's riff in the interview. It's part of this article. Also, here's another example of some great micro content. I interviewed Trevor Moad. So guys, you know me, I interview a lot of people. And Craig, when I did this interview, Craig was rolling out this new product called Elevate. When I named today's interview, I wasn't naming it around Craig's product, although I was, because he created a brand. He told a story. I mean, I did before I posted it and said, oh yeah, we're going to call it Elevate Your Brand. Craig, I knew that was the brand of a product that he had. But when I first thought of the headline, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm going to name it around Craig's product. So again, just a great example of putting your stake in the sand, defining who you are, defining your product, telling your story. But guys, look at this. Here is great distribution. You guys follow the mortgage coach community, so you know we get great distribution for a B2B company. Craig and his team got us over 50,000 views of this. So I think the point I want to make with this is you can do better than you think you can. Now, this did require an investment. I did become one of Craig's first clients of this Elevate product that he has. You know, I was like, oh, I'm creating great content, or at least I think our content is great. Not because of me, but because of who I'm interviewing. And I'm not going to elevate every interview that I do, but I'm going to take some of those special interviews that I do. We're going to put some budget around it. We're going to have it edited so that it's optimizing its engagement. In this particular case, that meant shortening it a little bit, making it a little tighter, putting some images so it kind of moved around. It went from Trevor to me to slides, create some movement for engagement. And then of course, guys, if you're just using organic Facebook, you're only getting about 20% of the potential. And by the way, that's at the max. Like you may only be getting 5% penetration if you're doing organic Facebook. You've got to invest to optimize your distribution. So Craig, we got about 5 minutes. I got a few questions, but I want to make sure people know what Elevate is, because I think it's a badass product. And I also want to make sure people know how to reach out to you if they want to go to the next level with media and branding.
Cool. So Dan actually just hit it on the head. If everybody's doing Zoom now, Zoom has become like Band-Aid. It's become this brand name. Everybody uses it and everybody uses it. So that doesn't necessarily make you different, whether you're doing a call like this or you're presenting to a group of realtors, whatever it may be. So what Elevate does is it allows you to do a Zoom call, an interview, present to a group of realtors. But when we take that content and then ultimately we edit it, we run B-roll, lower thirds, everything to make it look like it was on CNBC. And then we take that content. If you provide us your database, even if you don't, we're going to target to drive viewership to it. So we essentially take the thing that you're already doing. I'm out there, I'm doing Zoom calls with realtors. I'm speaking to real estate offices now, but via Zoom. Or Maybe you want to get your interview game going where every week or 2 weeks, you're interviewing a thought leader, an influencer, someone of your market, top realtor, financial advisor. Well, if you say, Mr. Financial Advisor, I'm going to interview you on a Zoom. Okay. How many people are going to be there? I don't know, 20, right? But if you say, hey, Mr. Financial Advisor, I'd like to invite you onto a show that I do. We're going to use the Zoom technology, but I'm a part of the show. It's tied to a company called Ignite Media, which produces a national show called The American Dream. And the content we create will ultimately look like this. And you show them a well-polished, edited piece, and then you slap on that viewership report that Dave just showed you. And they see, wow, your last one you did had 59,000 views. We're just taking what you could do with technology and Zoom, and we're elevating it to being well-polished, edited, handled by our team, so it feels more like a show than just a Zoom. And last but not least, we're driving viewership, which is obviously great for building brand equity, but even more importantly, you can leverage that to promote it to get other high-profile guests who see, wow, great-looking content, look at all those views. I'd love to be on that little show this guy does. So Elevate is a solution for that.
So guys, there is a link in our article. It's strategy number 7 of distribution. And it's an investment. You've got to invest to optimize content. So if you want to elevate your content, go to our playbook, number 7, click the link and sign up. Craig, there is a cost. Like, what is the investment?
It's a good question. I don't even know exactly. I think it's somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000 a month, and we do it with you a couple times a month, fully edited, and with the viewership and everything all built in. So you essentially get a media concierge who will help coordinate your guests. So it's like, hey, you want to come on? You connect us, and we'll do that for you. So it gives you a little more of a professional stance there. You do it a couple times a month, you do your interviews, and then within a week, we're going to edit it, drive viewership, provide it back to you. So it's in the ballpark. We have to tailor it based on the relationship. It's about $2,000-ish a month to do it a couple times.
Cool. And
guys, freeze there?
You did freeze up a little bit. Craig is a media entrepreneur. So there's the American Dream show, like Dan Keller, where he is the leader of American Dream for Seattle. There's Kelly Zitlow. She is the leader of American Dream for Scottsdale and Phoenix. And that's an opportunity. There's this Elevate, which I love because it allows me to empower more Mortgage Coach members to elevate their content. And then guys, on Wednesday, Craig did a webinar. What was the channel? CSNBC, was it?
Yeah, so we got some big stuff going on as well, where we're launching a show on CNBC. So it's going to be a mortgage show. It's awesome. I mean, this is a big move. Like, it's a big player. This is, if you're new to the business, God bless you. Keep getting on these calls. Maybe we could do an Elevate. This is for you Dan Kellers out there who are a true power player in your market. We have a show going on CNBC. And if anyone's interested in what that looks like, we did a webinar this week that explains it soup to nuts. I'd be happy to send that link out to anybody. It's, I mean, that's the biggest and best thing. That's the best thing we've ever done. It's a passion project for me.
And here's the deal, guys. Craig just kicked that off. I think there were 17 or so people on it. I had 2 mortgage professionals, and I think Michelle Castle would be cool with me mentioning your name. She was texting me like, Dave, will you make sure I get Craig picks me to be part of this? So I want to see everybody in the Mortgage Coach community who's a black belt in Mortgage Coach. Like, you need to be a legit advisor, someone that is creating amazing content. Like I said, my mission is 2 million or more families a year are getting this beautiful total cost analysis, guys. We hit 128,000 in July. I want that to be 2 million a year created. And I want it to be millions of families. When they make a decision on a mortgage, they make it with Mortgage Coach. So let me give a closing thought, and then I'm going to give you guys each a closing thought. So I went to Inman Connect in 2017 in New York. I just wanted to see, like, what's that event look like? I knew that the founder of Zillow was going to be on stage. I'm like, what does he have to say? Guys, this is a verbatim quote. The agent of the future needs to be a coach and advisor to home buyers and home sellers. Well, guys, the future is here. Mortgage Coach crushes the status quo fee worksheet. And here's the deal. if you want to crush it, the only thing he didn't get right from stage is not only do you need to deliver advice and be a coach and advisor, you're missing the opportunity if you're not a mortgage rock star. If you're not using media to amplify that voice, to define your brand, you're missing it. So I want to see the mortgage coach community who wants to play the game. Again, I get some of you don't want to turn on the camera. Some of you only want to turn on the camera, but you don't want to amplify your voice. It's all good. But if you want to be that wow, I want to help you. And I know Craig can help you. So Craig, how can people connect with you? What's the best way to email you? Obviously we gave you a link for Elevate. What's the best way, bro?
Yeah, if anyone wants to talk about anything, I put my email in the chat box. It's craig@craigsewing.com. Sewing spelled like a sewing machine, craig@craigsewing.com. And shoot me an email. I mean, if you have questions, concerns, just want a little advice, whatever, I'm here to give back. So craig@craigsewing.com.
And if you're a black belt or better at Mortgage Coach, I will advocate for you. And even if you're a brown belt, like if you're not using Mortgage Coach, then I don't want to say I don't want to help you, but I'm not going to advocate. But if you're crushing it with Mortgage Coach and you need help getting, the right channel, getting selected by Craig in a city, I'm here to help. Dan, any closing words for you, brother?
Yeah, I'll close with this. Going back to that blue ocean strategy, really, who's the leader in your markets right now and what are they doing? And I can promise you every single leader in your market right now, like myself, is closing 50 plus refinances, 50 plus transactions right now a month. But that's kind of our part-time job right now. Our full-time job is focusing on the fact that whether it be 1 month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, interest rates are going to be higher. We're going to need to be loving on our realtors. I'm doing that now versus waiting for that time to come.
Yeah.
Well, Mortgage Coach community, I hope this was a valuable hour and 3 minutes of your time. If you like this, give it a like. If you're a manager and you know some of your loan officers that you think are the right people, they want to be that wow loan officer, have them watch this, refer them to Craig. Let me know if you want me to advocate for anybody. I'm Dave@mortgagecoach.com, or you can comment or tag me on social media. Craig Sewing, bro, I know you're a busy man. Thank you for making time to give back in the community.
Love it. Thanks for having me, always.
This call is a wrap. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.